Seems like Sony is in a never-ending nightmare. Everything just keeps getting worse and worse. Earlier this year, Sony posted a $1.3 billion loss, which I don't think I need to explain is terrible. However, after Sony sold off their bombing Vio division, they're only predicting a net loss of $466 million, which is still pretty bad, but at least they were on track, right? No. If by the right track you mean the absolute worst one, you're spot on. They've revised their expected loss to a staggering $2.1 billion, over 4 times their initial projection. To put that into perspective, Nintendo only lost about 1/10 of that this year, yet everybody in the gaming press and the gaming community at large are claiming death is at Nintendo's doorstep, while Sony are gonna be okay. If you still believe that, you're a fucking idiot. Too harsh? I really don't care at this stage. I have a low tolerance for the mentally defective. Seriously, you're arguing against real numbers and facts, as well as the judgments made by financial analysts who I'm sure know a lot more about this stuff than you. Just shut up and listen before you lay waste to the comments section with stuff like, "Fuck you, you're just a Sony hater," even though I own a PS4. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? This will mark the 6th consecutive year in a row Kazurai has told investors that things are actually worse than they expected. I can imagine the meeting with investors. Hey, so you know how we were only expecting a $500 million loss? We're kind of now looking at about 4 times that. But don't worry, your stock is in the right place. What reason do you have not to trust us? If I was an investor, I'd start jumping ship right now, because unless chunks of change start flying out of Kazurai's ass, their corporate infrastructure is going to get worse. Now, Sony believes this loss is due to their struggling mobile division, which doesn't surprise me. The Sony phones are actually quite good, but right now, Samsung and Apple have that market locked the fuck down. But that's not the only problem over at Sony. With the exception of the PlayStation division, Sony products just aren't selling well across the board. People in the gaming community seem to forget that Sony is a big company that have their feet in lots of different markets. So they see the PlayStation brand selling well, and they think that means Sony is making lots of money. You couldn't be more wrong. They make TV and music products that sell about as well as a 10-foot tall rabies-infected gorilla, and they don't make lots of cash through their movie or music divisions, so what do they have? PlayStation, which can't support their entire corporate infrastructure. With any other company, I'd say they still have time to rejuvenate those divisions, but with Sony, it's too late. They missed their opportunity to be dominant in mobile, and especially in music, missing the MP3 bandwagon. And basically, it's the same story in all their other division. Those markets are locked down too tight, and with so many better devices available to the consumer, they don't have a chance. At this stage, I personally think Sony needs to trim off all the fat and just stick with the PlayStation division, because that's the only surefire thing they have right now. As this is negative Sony news, it's nowhere to be found on gaming websites, no surprises here. I searched through multiple pages on Google to find only 2 articles on this topic from gaming news websites, those being Polygon and GameSpot. The rest were from finance websites like Bloomberg or tech websites like CNET, once again revealing that the games media will sweep negative Sony news under the rug while sensationalizing negative Microsoft and Nintendo news that relative to this is not even comparable. Don't get me wrong, they should report on that news too, but to only report on negative news from the 2 losing platforms is bullshit. And I don't want to hear stuff like this isn't important. Sony losing $2.1 billion? You don't think that that should be on the front page? Seriously? I don't want to hear anything like, well, this isn't gaming related. Yeah, the financial well-being of Sony doesn't matter and won't affect PlayStation in any way whatsoever. If the rest of Sony goes bankrupt, PlayStation will still be fine. Except that makes no sense. I'm so tired of people saying Microsoft and Nintendo are in trouble because of relatively minor losses, while Sony are like a beached whale gasping for air, and have been for the better part of a decade. This isn't new, they've been losing money for years. Nintendo could release another botched home console and still be fine. Microsoft have Windows and Office, they're fine. Sony has lost billions already, sold headquarters, and cut jobs left and right. Sony themselves said that if the PS4 was a failure, they'd be toast. When it comes from the horse's mouth and you still deny it, your brain must be long gone. It's time to wake up, stop bullshitting yourself, and come to your senses on this. Like it or not, Sony are in trouble.